So how did you come about getting here to Washington and everything?
Well, I liked Washington. I always used to come to DuPont Circle when I was a little girl. My grandparents lived on 19th Street, and I used to just love the area and come to D.C. Then later I came to Washington after I finished college, and I went to Howard, and then I finished GW Law School. And then I left and went to New York. I got married. The marriage didn't work out. I went to New York. And while in New York, I became, I would work first for the courts in New York. Then I became what they call a CETA attorney. And that's a federal. CETA is federal claim. So I was really hoping. Then I became homeless later. My mother died. I went home to my mother. She died. I became homeless for many years. And then I came to Washington. I had 4.5 years of CETA in New York. So I was hoping I'd get a job as a federal attorney, maybe work 2 or 3 years and add that to the year I taught school in D.C. And I worked for the recreation department for a summer. And then I had 2.5 other years with the court system in New York. And with 2 or 3 more years in D.C., I was hoping I'd be able to retire and maybe just work part-time when I wanted to. But for some reason, I never really connected with a job in law in the government. So I ended up working over at Oasis Center for Senior Elderly Seniors, and I worked over there. But I broke my ankle in October, and so when I broke my ankle in October, I had to stop. And it's just about healed now. It'll be healed another 2 or 3 months. But I was really hoping to do some sort of, even if it wasn't law, do some kind of government work and retire probably from the federal government after working about 2 or 3 years and go wherever I wanted to go and maybe just work part-time.
That's great.
But life doesn't always turn out, I guess, exactly the way you expect it to. So I don't know where I will retire from or what I'll have to do. I might relocate someplace else and try to find out the retirement rules, and maybe if I work 2 or 3 years there, they'll count the time that I have from other places, you know. I don't know how many years I would have to work for them. But the reason I was interested in the federal government, because in New York, if you work for somebody for 5 years and you become 65, you can retire. So I thought the same thing would be true with the federal government, that if I had 4.5 years and came and worked 2 or 3 years, that would be more than 5, and 65 I could be able to retire and maybe buy in the time from the other places. But I was married in Washington. We divorced. He was a pre-med at Howard, and I understand he did later become a doctor and was practicing orthopedic medicine out in California. I enjoy living. Well, homelessness has a lot of problems, but I've lived in Boston, I've lived in LA, I have spent time traveling in other places, you know, under this, I spent some time in Chicago under this kind of hopeless situation. I was with the Lighthouse program for a while there in Chicago. And you get to meet a lot of people, see a lot of things, learn a lot of things. Some are funny, some are not. But I've been recognized as a poet, and I'm on the internet. If you look me up on the internet, I am what they call the acclaimed poet, United States poet.